Hi guys, and welcome back. Today we are having a look at our project Viper again, which is our F80 M3. We haven't actually done much to the suspension on this car. We've only fitted a set of Intrac springs for aesthetics. I've never been overly impressed with the suspension on this car, especially compared to the M2. Even though it's the same running gear, the M2 seems to handle the weight a lot better. It's just a lot more nimble and fun to drive. Since we've fitted the Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's onto this car, the grip is actually so good. I'm feeling like it's being overwhelmed by the grip on the tyre. So when you're going really fast around the corner, the tyres stick, but the car feels like it's pitching over to the side. This car is a stock competition pack, so the suspension is slightly improved over the stock M3, M4 models. It has slightly different anti-roll bars, springs, and it also has different electronic settings. So these cars are EDC, so when it comes to upgrading the suspension, you've only had like one choice before, which is to ditch the EDC system and go for a passive damper. But what we're fitting onto the car today is a set of Bilstein EDC dampers. So they integrate with the EDC on the car, and so you can still use your Comfort, Sport and Sport Plus settings, and you're not having to delete that functionality of it. It is a brand new product, so it's going to be the first time that I'm testing them out on the car, and hopefully see an improvement over the stock car. I don't think anyone in the UK has actually fitted a set of these yet, so I'm really looking forward to see how they react. Our roads, if you live in the UK, you know they're not that great, so suspension is very tricky to try and improve over here. So I'm just driving the car now just to remind myself of what it feels like currently. I'm going to head back over to the shop now and let Hash fit the dampers, and then I'll take the car out for a drive again and see what it feels like and give you my feedback. The dampers have been fitted now. Again, we're running these dampers with the Intrac springs, which we had on the car before. They lower 25 rear and 25 front. If I'm honest, I think we could go a little bit lower on the front because the front sits a bit high on these cars anyway. So we'll probably have a set of springs made that are 35 until we have a ride height adjustable set of springs done. So with the dampers fitted, it's in comfort mode. Let's go for a drive and see what it feels like. So for me, I want to make sure the car's still compliant and comfortable, because these are designed to be daily cars, but want to see an improvement in the way the car handles. I mean, straight away, this is my normal country lane that I drive cars and test them on. It's fairly bumpy in comfort. It's much more compliant than the stock dampers were. Initially, it just feels like it's a lot flatter than the stock dampers. It's handling the bumps really, really well. Yeah, that's really smooth, especially on this road. Yep. Just feels like the car's got a lot more contact with the road than it would normally have, and much flatter through the corners. Just on that short stretch, I'm pretty impressed already, to be fair. Didn't think it would make that much of a difference. Or I thought it would be a lot stiffer than the stock ones and then would spoil the ride quality. So I'm just going to try it in sports mode now. So yeah, you can feel a distinct difference in the stiffness, but it's still fairly compliant. Don't think people would complain about the ride quality. Just feels like it's a lot more nimble. It's almost like the car feels like it's compacted and feels more like my M2 than an M3, which is why I love the M2 so much. I think it's just the right proportion. You can really throw the car around and it feels good. Changes direction with a lot more confidence. Liking it so far. And there is a distinct difference between the setting between comfort and sport, but just very flat again and still fairly compliant. I'm quite surprised. Find somewhere to turn around and put it into Sport Plus. Okay, so let's try that same stretch of road in Sport Plus now. Should be a bit stiffer. Yeah, less compliant, so you can feel more of the bumps in the road. Still not too bad. So I can feel a distinct difference between the comfort, the sport and the Sport Plus settings in terms of stiffness. I mean, on the road, depending on the bumpiness of it, I think you'd probably be happy in either comfort or Sport Plus. Sorry, Sport and Sport Plus may be more useful for the track. So the weather's getting better over here now, so I haven't taken this on a track day yet. So I think when we get the crank hub issue addressed, I will take it to a track day and see how it behaves. Might be interesting to do a back-to-back with the M2. That's really good. Much better than I was expecting. And it's still kind of livable in the Sport Plus mode, but then when you want, just put it into comfort and it becomes a lot smoother. So the stock dampers are twin tube and the Bilsteins are inverted mono tube. They're inverted on the front, they're kind of standard configuration on the rear, and that's part of the reason why they're better than the stock ones, because they've got gas and oil and less valves. So with the single valve mechanism, it basically distributes the pressure evenly, and with twin tube you have several valves, so the pressure is not distributed evenly. And also on a twin tube, the liquids can mix, and when they're under pressure or working really fast, they can foam up, which then reduces the effectiveness of the damper. Whereas with the monotube, the gas and the oil are kept separate, so the oils are allowed to basically work to its full efficiency all the time. So I'm still in comfort, and that was a really bumpy road, like ridiculously bumpy, and it's still fairly comfortable. So I've tried to give it like the best workout I can on these roads. I know them pretty well. I know how suspension kind of gets upset, especially when you've got a bumpy road and sweeping bends, but it's very compliant. It seems to be handling it really well. Obviously this is just the initial testing. Once I've spent a bit more time with the car, I can give some more detailed feedback, especially on the track. But on the road and on these kind of B roads that we have in the UK, it's a very, very big difference for the better. Car's just much more compliant. It's a lot flatter, and so going through the corners, because the car's not upset by the bumps, it just seems to have more traction as well, which is interesting. I think the next stage is to try a different set of springs, just to get the ride height where I want it aesthetically, and also figure out what set of height adjustable springs I want to run, because that way I can get the ride height exactly where I want it. But so far I'm impressed with these Bilsteins. A lot better than I thought they would be. So that's the first serious suspension modification done to our M3. I have been toying with the idea of doing the B16 passive coilover kit, which we have on the M2, because it works really well on that. I did know that Bilstein were releasing this EDC version, so I was patient enough to wait for it, and I'm quite happy that I did now. For me, the go-to car when I'm going along country lanes is the M2, because it is so fun, so balanced, and you can really play with it. Hand on heart, it's the first time I can say about this car. I know you might think that's a bit strange because it's an M3 and it should be sporty, but for me, compared to against the M2, this always felt its size, so it always felt a bit clumsy with its weight and was a bit crashy on B roads. But the Bilstein dampers have really addressed that, and I'm really impressed with the way they work. The next thing for us to try is the MSS adjustable springs, and also a set of fixed springs that fix the ride height a little bit. I think it's a bit too high on the front. I just want to lower that down a bit, and the back I'm happy with at the moment. Also, we want to try changing the EDC software. So at the moment, this is running the competition pack EDC software, but we do know that the Club Sport has a different set of software. So it'll be interesting to see how the car reacts with that. So if you keep an eye on our channel, we'll be running through those changes on the suspension and see if we can make it even better than it currently is. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you'd like to watch more of this project, you can do so over here. If you'd like to watch what YouTube suggests you might like from our other videos, you can watch that over here. If you like this video, please click on the thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel. If you guys have any questions, please drop them in the comment section and we'll do our best to answer them for you.